Welcome to the Ozzstar channel. Today we've got a 93 Chevrolet Corvette right here behind me. Some of you guys may have seen this car in other videos that I've done. In fact, several years ago I replaced the sway bar end links with polyurethane bushings, and that was a really popular video. I'll leave a link to that video down below in the description if you have not seen it yet. But today we want to do some regular maintenance. I'm going to take you down under the car. We're going to look at the rear end of the car as far as the axle and the suspension components. I want to check the rear wheel bearings. I want to check the bushings, the axle shaft universal joints, the drive shaft universal joint, all that good stuff. I'll take you under there, point some things out and some things that you may want to look for. Now, if you've got a 92 to 96, they're all going to be pretty much the same as far as the way they're set up. Now, the earlier C4 generation, the like 84s and 85s especially, may be a little bit different. They all have that mono spring, but I'll show you all that stuff. It's pretty simple, and things that you should look for if you're hearing abnormal noises back there like clunking or clacking or clicking. You don't want any of that bad stuff. So I'll take you under there. Thanks for coming along. Let's go check it out. Front wheel's chocked. Back's all jacked up. Both wheels are off the ground, and I have my jack stands under there. And the first thing I'm going to do is demonstrate how to check the wheel bearings for any excess play. All right, something you want to keep in mind when you're checking for the wheel bearing play and you're at the 12 and the 6 o'clock position. When you're doing this back and forth, you're rocking this way, you want to feel a little bit of play. So that's okay, that's normal. If you listen, you might be able to hear it. It's really minimal. That's normal. You just don't want anything major, any major wobbling. So Ryan's going to demonstrate on how to check the suspension components. You can do this on your car too in the front if you have ball joints, upper and lower ball joints, same type of test. Go ahead and show everybody how to do that. You just pull up like that, just like that. Perfect. And bring that tire up and down slowly and surely so we can watch the suspension components right here. And let me get in place. Go ahead. Lift up all the way up. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for any type of play, any excessive play, and I'm not seeing any right now. Go ahead. So everything looks tight so far, and that's good. So I want to give you an overview of what we're looking at here. So these are the control rods, or some people call them dog bones. You got the upper and then the lower. So when Ryan was moving this wheel up and down, I was looking at the bushings here. There's 4 bushings, one on each corner, and to make sure there's no excessive play. And I'm looking right here, and they look good. They're solid. I don't see any big splits or tears. Now, minor cracking is, that's considered somewhat normal on an older bushing, but they all look good and solid. Of course, you can check your shocks while you're here. I do have a video on replacing the rear shocks and the front shocks on this vehicle. You want to look for any oil seepage. If you see any oil dripping down here, that's definitely a sign that the seal is bad. So make sure not just that you're not leaking any fluid or oil, coming out here, but check your shock bushings also. You've got this one down here, and then your upper is right in there. A sway bar link bushings that I replaced. I went polyurethane on these. You can look for that video if you need to get more information on that. I'll put it in the description. These all look tight. When the wheel was going up and down, I was definitely looking at this. No excessive play. Then we've got the tie rod in here that connects to the spindle, and this is your outer. So I looked here. I can grab onto it. It's very tight. There's no slop. The inner looked good when he was moving the wheel up and down and left to right. I didn't show that on camera, but he also went left to right. The boot is not torn, so there's no contamination here. I like to grab onto him with a pair of slip joints, and you can grab onto this right here and give it a good twist, and it shouldn't feel loose or wobble up and down at all. It should be nice and snug. I mean, it's going to move a little bit this way, but it shouldn't feel loose. And what else can we check? Right here is the mono spring, we can call it. It's the basically the spring that goes from this side to that side. It's horizontal if you're not familiar with it. Here's the spring. I guess you can call it a spring rod. So it ties the spring, the end of the spring right here. There's a bushing There's a lock nut down here, castle nut. So there's a bushing here, and then there's one at the top of the rod. These are fairly easy to replace, and if you look hard or close, this one does have that minor cracking I was talking about, but there's no major splits. So I'm not going to do anything with that at this point. But I'll get you underneath there. We'll check these universal joints here, and then hopefully I can film it. I don't know how tight it's going to be, but then you have your drive shaft coming in here. There's a universal joint in this area. We need to check that while it's up. And of course, we're going to do everything the same on the other side. Here's a bump stop. Not that they really go bad, but you got your upper bump stop. And I think that's about it as far as inspection. Oh, down here is the spindle rod. So that's what we were looking at earlier. So let me come over here. Sorry about that shaky stuff, but got to do what we got to do. So you've got the bushing right here, and I was looking for excessive play in that. It seemed okay, and that runs right up to the differential. And let me get you under there. It's behind that jack stand, and we'll take a look at the other side of it. All right, wanted to show you the rest of that spindle rod. So we saw that down here. This is like, we're still on the passenger side. So that bushing looked good. We follow that along, and where that goes is directly to the back of the differential. So right up here, there's an eccentric. I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see it's really tight because I'm trying to film behind the exhaust pipe, as you can see. But this eccentric, this is for adjusting your camber, which is, how much the top of the tire leans in or out, basically, if you can, vertically. That's your camber adjustment. And to give you some reference, right up here where my finger's moving around, that's that universal joint for the right side axle shaft. So here's the outer universal joint for the axle shaft on the passenger side. And what I do is I take my pry bar. Yeah, I've got the car in neutral, and I'll rotate the wheel until I can get a good position on it. I can't do it right now and show you what I do because I need two hands, but I'm putting pressure on the pry bar, and I check for any slop. I also grab it with my hand, just physically. That's why you want the tires, the rear tires off the ground so they're unloaded. So if there is any tension, I've seen it before where, even if one wheel's down, it can put enough tension on that universal joint where it looks like it's tight, but as soon as you get the wheel off or the tire off the ground, it's got the slop, and you can see that. And then I'll do the same. Let me get you in this corner right here, so that runs up this way. Get some light on it, and you can see that one right up in there at the differential, this one right up in that point. And we'll check that, and then we'll get to our drive shaft next. I wish I had a lift. Life would be so much easier. But there's our drive shaft. This is the front universal joint. Of course, you could go up front and check the other check the other side of it too. But I grabbed hold of it, spun this around. Like I said, I'm in neutral. Put a bar in here. Gave it the old wiggle test. Everything looks tight. This car, I think, has about 65 or 63,000 miles on it now. So you can see I just spin it around like that to get the best angle, to get my tool in there. So now we're on the driver's side, and I just want to show you because I can film better here. Here's that spindle bar, and that's your eccentric to adjust the camber right down there, that bolt right there. But there's the driver's side, oops, lost it here. There's the driver's side axle shaft, and that's the universal right in there. And you can get your pry bar in there, give it a good tug, up and down, left and right, all those kind of ways. Spin it around if you have to, and make sure you don't have any play on that universal. Another thing to check on the monospring is, here we are on the driver's side. This is the end of it right here. Follow that towards the center, and you'll see the spacers, these rubber spacers right there. You need to check those, make sure they're not, in bad shape, deteriorated, or cracked. You got them over here, and then the same thing on the other side of the differential. All right, so I hope that gives you some idea of what to look for in the rear suspension as far as any abnormal noise, if you have any bushing problems, bushing issues, bearing issues. It's fairly straightforward and simple. And I might change out the spring rod bushings that you saw that had the minor cracking eventually. Right now they're fine, there's no major splits, so that's fairly simple. that mono spring is a fiberglass type material, so you don't want to cut it or nick it, but you could put a block of wood on one side, raise it up with your jack, take the pressure off, take that bolt out, swap out your bushings, tighten it up, and you're good to go down the road. But anyway, it's a good time of year right now. It's April, so it's a good time if you can do it, if it's not too cold still where you are. Get your stuff together, get everything, fixed up and nice so you can start cruising this summer. Hopefully the warm weather will be coming soon, at least in this area. So thanks for watching. Instagram, Ozzstar1. Any comments or questions, leave them down below. If you need any torque settings on any of those parts or suspension parts, let me know. I have the full factory manuals, as in plural. There's 2 of them. So I can get you any type of torque spec you need. Just let me know. All right, take care, guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.
My favorite.
Yeah, I know it's your favorite. I'm going to say hi to the people. Tell them it's your favorite.
Yeah, that one's my favorite.
You're not on camera. They can't see it. Oh, there you are. You are on camera.